Hello readers, I'm Amy and welcome to this video that I have not done in a while. It was a little segment that I like to call Book It or Book It. So you have book it, like schedule it, put it in your calendar, I'm gonna buy this book, or book it, like run the other way. I am going to be talking about releases in October, November, and December, and I have two of them with me right now. So let's start off. How many of you remember The Power by Naomi Alderman? This was a huge book a couple of years ago. You have women getting this electrical power and we're changing over from a patriarchy to a matriarchy because of it, and there's some fallout due to that, and you get to see some of the political changes, and it was really interesting. Naomi Alderman has another book coming out, The Future. I got this from Simon Books Buddy because I'm in the Simon Book Buddy program. This is not an ad in any way, they just send me the book and ask me to review, and I did not finish this. I'm sorry. I love The Power so much. I thought it was really good. I would like to reread it in the next year or two, but The Future just didn't hit the same for me. I will say, right off whenever I opened the book, I do really love the writing. The writing is phenomenal, but it's got a lot of focus on corporate structure and characters who are in kind of the corporate machine, and there are some interesting aspects to those characters, but it was just kind of overshadowed by this big drawing of the political landscape, and I lost interest really quickly. So my advanced reader copy of this is over 400 pages. I feel like it could be cut down to 250 or 300 because you don't need 100 pages to get to know a single character. So it's just drawn out a little too much. But the writing is there if you're interested in that more corporate political landscape and a possible dystopia within that. Maybe you'll really enjoy this and pick this up. Me personally wasn't super into it. You also see with the cover, there is a fox that's really easy to see, and then you can kind of see the rabbit ears behind it. I don't remember how far I made it into this. I have to have made it at least 100, 150 pages into it. And the fox and the rabbit was only briefly explained in like a single sentence. And I believe that fox ended up being a code word for black people, but that wasn't further explained at that point, and I feel like 150 pages in, we should probably know what the fox and the rabbit stand for. So ultimately, this is just too much of a slow burn book for me, but I still think it does sound really interesting, and I did really love the writing. It's just not going to be my particular Naomi Alderman. I think she has actually written some books. Yeah, she's written books outside of these two, but like these two are the only ones that I ever hear about. So I might look into some of her other books and see if they're more my style. The Future is going to be published on November 7th. Now, in talking about these books, they are not necessarily going to be in publishing order. They're just in the order that I took screenshots of them. The other book that I want to talk about is Murder by Degrees by Ritu Mukherjee. I think I'm butchering that name. It looks like, yeah, the author is Indian. And this book is going to be published on October 17th. I am only at part 2. So yeah, I'm 60 pages into this book so far, and I am really enjoying it. It's a bit of a slower read for me right now, but I'm also coming out of a bit of a slump, so I think that I should be able to pick this up again and finish it within the next couple of days. This takes place in Philadelphia in 1875, start of term at the Women's Medical College of Pennsylvania. So at this time, it's pretty much the only medical college for women in this period of time. So it is like this historical fiction murder mystery because there's this person who disappears. She might be dead, we aren't sure yet. And we're looking at the perspective of a doctor who teaches at this hospital. So not only do you have this kind of murder mystery, but the historical fiction is focused on women's history, which I really love. So we get that nice feminist perspective, we get some horrible male characters that get some really good takedowns. So I'm excited to see how this turns out. And I do believe this is a debut by this author. So maybe pick that up whenever it comes out. That was also, if I didn't say that already, that book is also through the Simon Book Buddy program. Again, I received it in the hopes that I would review it, but I am not being paid to talk about those books. So next up, I want to get some autobiographies kind of out of the way. We have Being Henry, The Fonz and Beyond by Henry Winkler. I never watched, is it Cheers that the Fonz is in? I don't know. I'm sorry. I have not watched Henry Winkler very often. I've seen him like here and there. He's not someone whose life I'm particularly interested in. We have Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I guess I don't know if that's more of an autobiography memoir. It sounds more like a self-help book. Schwarzenegger is this weird in-between with actor and politician, and I might be interested in a book about his acting life, but I don't know. Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't someone that I've ever really watched that much from. I've watched a handful of his movies. I don't think he's a particularly good actor. I have no idea how he was as a politician. He seems kind of on the fence as a human being, so I don't know, probably not going to read that. Then we have John Stamos, If You Would Have Told Me. Not super interested. I mean, John Stamos has always been relatively good looking, but that's the only thing I really know about him. But if you're super into John Stamos and his work, he has an autobiography and or memoir coming out. Oh, it does say memoir on the book cover. And then where's the picture? Britney Spears. Britney Spears is coming out with The Woman in Me. I assume it's going to be more autobiography where she talks kind of broadly about her whole life and everything that's happened in her life for the last 15 years or so. But I can't explain my feelings on this and where they're coming from. But I feel like this book was probably ghostwritten rather than like actually written by her. Like, I'm assuming she might have talked about it with someone else who wrote it down. I don't know. I guess I don't see her so much as an author figure. I also don't know, how do you know what celebrities are having someone else write their story and what celebrities are writing their own story? Like, I'm not sure if there's really a solid way to tell. I just feel like Britney Spears' book is probably going to be written by someone else, and then with her name as the author. Again, I don't know why I have that feeling. That's just a feeling that I have. So I didn't realize this until I was looking at the book releases that are coming up, but I really loved Made by Stephanie Land. She's either currently living in Missoula, Montana, or she was living in Missoula, Montana. But this is hard work, low pay, and a mother's will to survive. This was really well written. This was a really great story. I haven't watched, I believe it's a TV show. I haven't watched that. I don't know that I'm super interested in that, but I did really love Made the book. And she has another book coming out that also continues this pop of yellow from the original cover, which I really love. And it's called Class. In the final chapter, she wrote about moving to Montana to attend college, yet getting a degree was not the happily ever after she imagined. I feel like college is rarely the happy ever after that we imagine. With a searing look at America's education system, Land discusses navigating a tricky loan system, attending college while still in poverty, and the struggle of a single mother full of desire and ambition. I definitely want to pick that up. I might actually pick up the hardcover of it. Because I really love Stephanie Land's writing and storytelling. My husband and I have both been through college. I've been through it twice. He's been on and off considering going through it a second time, but he has a true and deep hatred of the American education system, and a lot of that is starting to rub off on me. So thoughts and feelings. I would be very interested in picking up class. This is coming out November 7th. I didn't tell you the dates for the memoirs, but in the screenshots that I took, there were not dates, so I'm not going to be super concerned about that. Then we have Patrick Rothfuss is coming out with The Narrow Road Between Desires. Patrick Rothfuss is the author of Name of the Wind, and I don't remember the name of the second book now, but I've read both of those. It's supposed to be a trilogy. We've been hearing for, I think, well over a decade that he's working on the third book, which is like The Doors of Stone or something. At some point he came out with a novella about a side character. This is a short standalone novel that follows another side character. It's just like, I feel like the main opinion at this point is that Rothfuss will never publish that third book in the trilogy. I know I am definitely of the opinion that we will never see that third book, at least not in its finalized form. We might see bits and pieces of it after he dies in some post-death collection. Who knows? Not that he's even that old, I just don't think he's ever going to publish it. I do think Name of the Wind has some really beautiful writing with a lot of effort behind it, but there's also just so many different storylines that need to be tied up that would be difficult to do under like 1,000 pages at the least. Wise Man's Fear, that's the second book. The second book had a huge like novella-sized chunk, like 100 pages that should have just not been in there, where this mighty hero virgin loses his virginity to a sex fairy. So why? Between that and this long wait, it's not gonna happen. And The Narrow Road Between Desires is just a way to kind of keep fans off his back for another couple of months. That is coming out the 14th of November, and then again November 7th, we have Bookshops and Bonedust. I read Legends and Lattes. It was so cute. You have this, what is she, an ogre? Who has been like a soldier for a long time, and she's sick and tired of it, and she ends up opening a coffee shop, and no one in the fantasy world has really heard of coffee. So, or at least not this particular town that she's in. No one's heard of coffee, so she opens up a coffee shop, and we see what happens. Cozy fantasy, love it. I really want to pick up Bookshops and Bonedust, but I haven't bought Legends and Lattes yet because I really, 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 really love the UK covers that look like a coffee shop chalkboard. And since Book Depository has closed down, I haven't really dug in too much to which bookshops I'll be able to get UK covers from. I get that the UK and US are different markets, but there's so many covers. There's a lot of American covers that I like. There's also a ton of UK covers that I like, and I kind of wish that all the options were easily available in both countries. Not that I have a lot of insight into that, but I would like to get both books in the English version. I might just get a hold of Victoria from What Victoria Read or some other friend in England and just be like, I will pay you to buy these two books for me in the UK covers. So yeah, Bookshops and Bonedust is a prequel to Legends and Lattes, and of course it is about a bookshop, which we book lovers just love and adore. November 7th. Then we have the 8th book in the Murderbot Diaries is coming out November 14th. I am not going to read this. I know a lot of people really love the Murderbot Diaries. I tried the first book and I don't know. I get what the humor is supposed to be because you have this robot who's supposed to murder people but really just wants to be lazy and watch their soap operas. And I love that idea, but the humor just did not hit for me at any point during the book, so never continued the series. I'm not planning on continuing the series. Bright Young Women, I don't have the release date for this, but Bright Young Women is written by Jessica Knoll, who did The Luckiest Girl Alive. I have not read that book, but I did start watching the movie, having no idea what it was about, and the movie was super triggering for me and just made me super uncomfortable. Could not finish it. I think I got halfway through whenever my husband got home, and it was one of those that, like, I couldn't get myself to stop watching it, but I also hated it. So I just handed the remote to my husband and I'm like, please, please, please turn this off, because I can't get myself to look away, but also I just don't want to watch this anymore. So I'm not planning on reading Bright Young Women. I do really love the cover. I love how bright and eye-catching it is. I would love to see more covers like this. I just have a feeling that the content is gonna be a little strong for me. The Reformatory, which I don't have a release date for, but this looks interesting. Taking place in June 1950, 12-year-old Robbie Stevens Jr. is sentenced to 6 months at the Gracetown School for Boys, a reformatory, for kicking the son of the largest landowner in town in defense of his older sister. This begins his journey further into the terrors of the Jim Crow South and the very real horror of the school they call the reformatory. He has a talent for seeing ghosts, but what once was a comfort to him after the loss of his mother has become a window to the truth of what happens at the reformatory. Boys forced to remediate their so-called crimes have gone missing, but the ghosts Robbie sees hint at worse things. I feel like this could be really good and really thrilling and really stick it to the man. It could also potentially be really tough to get through, so I might pick it up, but I want to wait to see reviews that people give. We have Raiders of the Lost Heart, which is a romance book. I still don't read a ton of romance. I'm getting a little bit better at kind of picking out a romance book here and there. But the reason I want to talk about this, I don't even really care what it's about, but Raiders of the Lost Heart, that book cover just really makes me think of, what was it called? Lost City, with Sandra Bullock and, what's his name? The Magic Mike guy? I know this. My brain is just totally blanking. I wonder when exactly this book was getting written, because it's just giving Lost City fan fiction for me, and so I just thought that was hilarious and cute. So there you go. Oh, there is a memoir that I missed. It's Making It So by Patrick Stewart. He's the guy who plays Professor X, and I know he plays other things, but that's like what I know him as, and I haven't even watched that many X-Men movies. Wasn't he in Star Trek? I'm sorry to my fellow nerds, I really don't watch Patrick Stewart movies. They're just not my style of movies, but he is coming out with a memoir. I'm not going to pick it up, but if you want to pick it up, it's coming out sometime in October. Land of Milk and Honey by C. Pam Zhang is coming out the day after my birthday, September 26th. This is a dystopia following a chef. Smog has spread, food crops are rapidly disappearing. A chef escapes her dying career in a dreary city to take a job at a decadent mountaintop colony, seemingly free of the world's troubles. That's never a good sign when you find a place that has everything that everywhere else does not. There's a lush new life for the global elite. Chef reawakens to the pleasures of taste, touch, and her own body, which I'm not entirely sure what that's supposed to mean. Chef's boundaries undergo a thrilling erosion, and she's pushed to the center of a startling attempt to reshape the world far beyond the plate. I'm intrigued by the idea of a dystopia centering around a chef and probably around food. We all love food descriptions in books. They're really great. I don't know enough about the plot to be super interested in picking this up right now, but I'm excited to see what other people end up saying about it, and I might pick it up in the future. We have The Leftover Woman by Jean Kwok. this. I did not take a picture of the release date. Jasmine Yang arrives in New York City from her rural Chinese village without money or family support, fleeing a controlling husband on a desperate search for the daughter who was taken from her at birth, another female casualty of China's controversial one-child policy. So this is following the woman who gave birth to the child and the rich people who made a home for her. Their lives are going to clash together. I think this sounds really interesting. I will keep an eye out for it. It looks like that is it for books that I took pictures of on my phone and that seemed interesting to talk about for one reason or another. So I hope you liked this little segment of Book It or Book It. Please let me know down in the comments what of these books you're interested in picking up, books that maybe I didn't talk about that you're really interested in seeing. So please like, subscribe, be my friend on social media. I will see all of you in my next video. Bye, friends.